Hey guys, today's lost sector is Extraction in the Throne World. There's going to be 3 Unstoppables and 1 Overload. Looking at some of the mods, there's going to be 25% increased incoming arc damage. Scorn Raiders have Void Shields. Giant Surge, 25% bonus to strand damage, 25% bonus to arc damage, and there's going to be a Glaive Overcharge. Starting now with the Hunters, we're going to be using our classic Assassin's Cal Arc Hunter set. Real quickly, we're going to be using Gambler's Dodge with combination blow and skip grenades. Low State makes us so when we defeat a jolted target, it makes us amplified. And Lethal Current is what makes us jolt targets when we dodge. It will also allow us to stun jolted Unstoppables when we melee them. Spark of Resistance gives us increased resistance while surrounded. Spark of Feedback makes us deal more melee damage when we take melee damage. Spark of Ions, when we defeat a jolted target, it creates an ionic trace. And Spark of Shock or arc grenades can jolt targets. Moving on to the weapons, I have a hand cannon just in case my Lethal Current isn't active. For the Overload, Retold Tail with 1-2 punch. Any shotgun with 1-2 punch is fine. It is arc burn, so you could use something like the Dead Weight. It is the Gambit shotgun. And then Leviathan's Breath for Unstoppables as well as boss damage. Moving on to the artifact, the important mods include Unstoppable Fusion Rifle and Overload Hand Cannon. And Elemental Orbs Arc are nice, but definitely not necessary. Moving on to the mods, the exotic of choice is Assassin's Cal. We're going to have one hands-on mod, so we get increased super energy when we get a melee kill. And you can have any siphon mod that you want, although you won't be getting too many kills with any sort of weapons with this loadout. 2 heavy-handed mods, so we get greater orbs when we get melee kills. I had 2 arc mods and a void resistance mod on, but you could also run 2 voids and an arc. Just depends on preference. I have elemental charge, so ionic traces give me armor charge, as well as recuperation and better already, just for a little bit of extra safety with the build. And a powerful attraction, since we're dodging all the time, it's picking up all the orbs. Moving on to the Hunter run, we're going to spend the first couple minutes of the last sector getting our combination blow applied. It can be a little annoying in this last sector since there's so many shielded combatants. Once we get combination blow times 3, it will allow us to one-shot kill the enemies with void shields. Once we kill most of the enemies in this area, we will be spawning an Overload, which we can stun with either our hand cannon or the Lethal Current melee. Once we kill the Overload, we just need to clean up the room and we can go to the next. This room we need to stand on 3 plates. The middle one will have an Unstoppable on it, so we will be doing that one last. Now that we've finished the plate, we're going to approach the Unstoppable from the top. A couple of Leviathan's Breath shots just to weaken him up a little bit, and then we will go in with 1-2 punch and Lethal Current. Once we kill him, we're just going to be juggling invisibility with Assassin's Cal on the lower tier enemies. We will throw our grenade behind us because the enemies do like to follow us. It does help a little bit. There's going to be 2 unstoppables in this next room. We're just going to hang out by the doorway and kill them both with Leviathan's Breath. If a couple enemies do sneak up behind you, just go kill them, it's fine. Once we kill this last unstoppable, Gathering Storm plus a couple shots of Leviathan's Breath is enough to kill the boss. Once you finish your ghost, you can loot the chest. Moving on to the Titan build, we're going to be using Solar Titan with the Hammer of Soul subclass, Towering Barricade with Throwing Hammer, which is important, and Thermite Grenades. For the aspects, we're going to be using Soul Invictus so we can create sunspots when we get an ability kill, and Roaring Flames so that when we get ability kills, they get increased stacking damage. For the fragments, we're going to have Ember of Torches, so when we get a powered melee attack, it makes us radiant. Ember of Searing, so when we defeat scorched targets, it grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. Ember of Mercy is here, so when we pick a fire sprite up, it grants us restoration. And Ember of Solace, radiant and restoration effects applied, you have increased duration. This is a filler fragment, so you can select any other one if you prefer. For weapons for this lost sector, I was using Riptide for the overloads, but it could also stun unstoppables. Callous Mini Tool because it's great at clearing ads, also really good for creating the solar orbs. And Leviathan's Breath for unstoppables as well as boss damage. If you don't have a Chill Clip Riptide, I would suggest using a hand cannon with any fusion rifle. Moving on to the artifacts. The important artifact mods include Unstoppable Fusion Rifle and Overload Hand Cannon. Elemental Orb Solar, if you have it unlocked. If not, it doesn't make a big deal. For the mods, we're going to be using Syntheseps. On the helmet, we're going to have 2 Harmonic Siphons, so we can make larger orbs. A hands-on mod, so when we get melee kills, it grants us more super energy. Heavy-handed, so we generate orbs when we get melee kills. And impact induction, so melee damage gives us grenade energy back. For resistance mods, I would either use 2 voids and an arc, or 2 arcs and a void. On the boots, I have recuperation, so I get health back when I pick up an orb of power, and innervation, so I get grenade energy back when I pick up an orb of power. The powerful attraction mod, so when I pop my barricade, it picks up all the orbs in the area. Alright, moving on to the actual Titan run. We're going to start out by stacking Roaring Flames times 3 on these first couple of enemies. Once we get Roaring Flames times 3, it will allow the Baby Hammer to one-shot the enemies with the Void Shields. Once we kill most of the enemies in here, it will spawn an Overload. We're going to stun the Overload with our Riptide with Chill Clip. If you don't have that, then use your hand cannon. Once the Overload is dead, we just need to kill all the enemies in this room and the door will open. In this room there will be 3 plates. I usually like to do the one in the middle last because it does have an unstoppable on it. Alright, now that we've finished the second plate, we're going to go do the plate with the Unstoppable. I like to approach it from this upwards angle, since there's no adds up here. I'm going to shoot 2 Leviathan's Breaths at it and then pop my super. We won't need it against the boss. Try to give yourself a sunspot to stand on with your hammers, as it will make your super last longer. Try to get as many kills as you can before it runs out. For the rest of the time when we're not in super, we're just going to be trying to get kills with the baby hammer to give us sunspots, therefore restoration. When we're moving into the boss room, I do like to throw my grenade behind me since all the enemies will try to funnel in through that door. You can usually kill most, if not all of them. When you're a higher level, it will kill all of them, but we do have a couple enemies that chased us. Feel free to just use whatever ammo you need to survive. You should have more than enough Leviathan's Breath for the final boss. There's 2 Unstoppables in this room. Should take you about 3 Leviathan's Breath shots each. Once you kill that second Unstoppable, you are free to kill the boss. Once you finish your ghost, you're good to go loot the chest. Looking at our Warlock build, we're going to be using the usual super aggressive Warlock build. Looking at the subclass, we're going to be using Healing Rift with Ball, Lightning, and Storm Grenades. For the aspects, we're going to be using Electrostatic Mind, so when we defeat a target with an arc ability, it creates an Ionic Trace, and Arc Soul, so we can get a little bit of extra DPS when we pop our Rift. For the fragments, we're going to have Spark of Beacons, while our Amplified or Special Weapon Final Blows create a Blinding Explosion. Spark of Shock, Arc Grenades jolt targets. Spark of Discharge, Arc Final Weapon Blows have a chance to create Ionic Trace. And Spark of Feedback, taking melee damage briefly increases our outgoing melee damage. For the weapons, we're going to be using a hand cannon since it's overload. Salvager Salvo, because it has Demolition as a chain reaction, it's really good at killing adds. And Leviathan's Breath for the Unstoppables and the boss. For the artifact this season isn't too useful for this build aside from Overload Hand Cannon. The Elemental Orbs can come in handy sometimes, but I think I only picked up 1 in the whole run. Moving on to the mods, we're going to be using Crown of Tempest. I'm going to have 1 Ashes to Assets and a Hands-On for a little bit of extra super energy with an Arc Siphon mod. Grenade Kickstart so we can get a little bit of grenade energy back when we throw a grenade. I just had 2 Arc Resistances and a Void Resistance on. You could switch them out a little bit if you prefer. Arc Weapon Surge, so my Salvager Salvo does a little bit extra damage, and Powerful Attraction so I can pick up the orbs when I popped my Rift. Alright, moving on to the run. The hand cannon buff feels really nice. You could just sit up here and gun them down with the hand cannon if you want to, but the build was designed to play a little bit more aggressive than that. Hand cannons, if you have a Void one, it'd be great for these Void Shields in here. My Fatebringer does 2-shot them. If you can manage to make more of these elemental orbs, that 1 orb did do a lot there. I just don't feel like they spawn overly often. An overload did just spawn, so you can either stun it with your hand cannon or you can throw a grenade at it. Once we kill this overload, we need to kill the rest of the adds in the room, and then the doorway will open up. If you have a kinetic special that you really like, I would almost suggest bringing a Void Hand Cannon in here. It would speed up the process of this room quite a bit. You would just have no method of creating arc elemental orbs with a void hand cannon on though, so you might want to switch up to a void build then. In this room, we just need to stand on all three of the plates. There will be an unstoppable on the middle plate. On Warlock, I do like to do the middle plate last. We're going to kill the unstoppable with Leviathan's Breath. Once we get our rift, we'll go step on the plate. It's a little too dangerous to go stand on the plate without it. It might just be my own imagination, but it does feel like they could have increased the ad density in this part of the Lost Sector from last season. I like to throw a grenade on my way up to kill most of the ads that are following me. It won't kill the Scorn captains though, so I will go kill them in a little bit. It's safer just to spend the time killing these guys if you're going for solo flawless, because they will get you killed in the long run. We're going to kill both these unstoppables with Leviathan's Breath. We'll shoot one Leviathan's Breath at the boss, and then we will use our Chaos Reach on her. This should get her within finishing range, and then once you finish her ghost, you can go loot the chest.